me tonight. They got to see me.
I think if you got a guy like that, you build like that, 6'4", guy, you got to trust.
Everybody watching tonight. So I tell you what, if you get fired into the next, you're in the wrong business. We control this. We run this. And anybody coming out of the house,
they got Jordan Davis last season. They bring Fletcher Cox back in Philly. So I'm sitting there like, we need to put something on this offensive line to combat that. What's going on? Welcome back, everybody. Week 9 is upon us, and this is the End Zone Experience, man. It's Philly week. The Dallas Cowboys are 5-2, headed to Philadelphia to face the 7-1 Eagles. This is a crazy rivalry that has been pretty hot over the last couple of years, man, with conversations between who's the better quarterback, which is the better team. The Philly has had the number in the NFC, man, and played in the Super Bowl, and we're trying to stop that. So talk to me a bit about how you're feeling headed into Philly week, bro.
Nah, I mean, the trash talk is ongoing. It doesn't matter what position you talk or anything at this point. It's like you get this CeeDee Lamb versus A.G. Brown conversation. Hassan Reddick, he can compare to Micah. Obviously, the Dak and Jalen Hurts, you know what I mean? That conversation is always there, right? But like this first game right here is such high magnitude and it's so important to come out here and get this dub, right? And Philly's a good team. Make no mistake about it. They're a very good team, but I feel we're right there with them. Like we talked about before the season, it's really no gap, right? But it's gonna be a tough one. You know, I mean, the guys got to come to play. But if you ask me how I'm feeling confident. Like I'm not too nervous about this one. It's no fear in Philly, right? We know what Dak does, his record and what he does in the division, but especially against Philly as well. But hey, man, every year it changes. You know what I mean? The NFC East. While we thought it was the NFC Beast, we know what the Washington Commanders has been like. Look like they're on a little bit of fire sale. The Giants is gianting, you know what I mean? They're the Giants, right? So it comes down to these two good football teams. So it's going to be a hell of a matchup this Sunday. For sure.
You spoke of Dak's record versus Philly, man. He's 8-3 versus Philly in his career, 2-2 in Philadelphia, right? So last season we were robbed of Dak versus Jalen Hurts. Both of them had injuries at the wrong time. But man, it's a juggernaut of a team. I think when you talk about the Philadelphia Eagles from a talent standpoint, it is easy to argue that they have the most talent in the league on their rosters, at every level too. But you know, the Dallas Cowboys are going to come in there and do their best. And I think if we can play the way, you know, that we've played against some of these bad teams, if we can get in there and establish some dominance early, man, I think we'll be in for a really, really good game.
I wouldn't even say bad teams. Let's just continue to do what we did the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like what we've seen against the Chargers and the Rams the last 2 weeks has been very positive, you know, versus what we were saying early on. You know, the defense carried us a little bit. But I think the most positive thing is the offense it looked like it's taking a leap. So I don't want to resort back to what we did previous to that, you know what I mean, obviously. But, you know, we've been able to be dominant on the home field. And obviously, you know what I mean, I kind of worry a little bit about being away. I wonder, like, if the noise gets a little bit crazy, like, will they be able to still get those calls and stay aggressive how we should be? But, I mean, other than that, man, like I said, I think it's going to be mano a mano. I don't really see this being a pull-away game for either team. It's going to be tough. It's going to come down to the end. I really feel like that way. You got two strong defenses. But, you know what I mean, I feel like there's some areas we can attack over here, man. So, you know, we could dive straight into it. If you want to go ahead and dive straight into the numbers, we can go ahead and get rolling on that.
Yeah, let's pull up the offensive side of the ball for the boys. So you look right here, points per game, man. Philly's defense, you know, there's a discrepancy there. You look at the points per game. But the surprising thing here, man, the rushing yards allowed by this Philadelphia defense, man, it does look like we're gonna have to throw the ball. But if you look, it's very skewed. They're giving up crazy numbers through the air, and it makes sense, man. That's a secondary that's not playing like it once did. When I say that, I mean last season. But what stands out to you right here from the Cowboys offense compared to the Philly defense?
I mean, the main thing, right? Obviously, we put on 28 points a game, and that's still good, right? But if you looking at Philly, right, that front seven, we all know is beast, and it's gonna be tough to run the ball against those guys. So while the numbers may be skewed, you know, whether it's teams just kind of abandon the run a little bit and they pass a little bit more, that can be said. But I also believe, you know, I mean, the secondary is low week over there. There's a lot of areas to target. And it's one of the worst teams in the league as far as defending the pass. So I think we got to attack that, right? Definitely come out there and don't just keep running Tony Pollard in the teeth for this defense over and over and over again. This one of those games to me, like, hey, we know where they're weak at. Let's go ahead and take what they give us. And if if it's tough up front, it's going to be some tough sledding. I want to take advantage of that. You know what I mean? So as far as the passing yards, I'm looking at that. That's key, right? That's key. And then for us, I think we got to continue to stay balanced. That doesn't mean abandon the run, right? But I do want to see Tony Pollard get a little bit east and west. Jordan Carter, you know what I mean? Jalen Carter, I'm sorry, and Jordan Davis in that middle. You know what I mean? That's gonna be tough sledding. They still got some big boys up front. But I think we can try to get to the edge, but definitely attack them in the passing game. So looking at that number, I think that's gonna be key this week.
I think definitely this is a game where Mike McCarthy is going to be aggressive early in the passing game, take advantage of that Philadelphia secondary, man. And James Bradbury, all last season leading up to it, I was like, man, Bradbury's terrible. He came out, balled out, got himself some cash, and it's like, okay, he's back to what he once was. So they got issues in that secondary, as you mentioned. I'm gonna switch over to the other side of the football here, man. Bam. So points per game, man. Dallas is elite in points per game this season. Philly's not doing too bad themselves. They are averaging just under what we're averaging by 0.1. Um, but you look here, rushing, man. Our defense is doing solid against the run game, but Philly runs the ball, man. They run the ball well, and it looks like they're a little more comfortable with Jalen Hurts throwing the football around. Talk to me a bit about how you're feeling about this matchup here.
Nah, I mean, you look at the rushing number that they putting up, right? It's key. We know how strong their offensive line is. DeAndre Swift, he's been a great addition to that team. So I think as key as it is to obviously, hone in on Jalen Hurts and obviously try to keep him at bay, right? I think we got to definitely try to keep DeAndre Swift from not taking this game over. Because one thing about Philly, I know if they get a little bit of, a yard here and a couple yards here, and they feel like they got, they got that down packed, and they're gonna keep going to the well over and over and over again, and and it kind of leads to them staying ahead of the chains, and we don't want to, be behind the chains with a team like this. Obviously, the push comes into play and things like that, so we got to stay ahead of that. So as far as them rushing the ball, that's going to be key. We've done well the past couple of weeks. Obviously, Eckler, some tough backs. Obviously, Brees Hall. We've put that on paper, right? I think we just got to continue to do that. The linebacker play, what we've had recently with Marquise Bell and those guys, they stepped up to the bell. Obviously, we got Rashawn Evans. He's getting elevated. Don't know how much he'll play, whatever, but in the meantime, I think we've done a lot better against the run. It's not going into the season what we thought it was. You know what I mean? Hankins and those guys been doing a hell of a job up front. As far as the passing yards, right? You see our number. Like, don't look at the 255. Look at what we're doing on the passing. You know what I'm saying? So I felt very good going into this game. Obviously, we're going to have to deal with AJ Brown. But, Deron Bland on the other side, I'm excited to see, what happens there. But, time of possession, that's key.
Yeah.
Philly, if they get a hit on you, for sure, that's the type of ball game. But I think if we can get a hit, we can kind of flip the script here. And that's going to be key for this game.
I think, with the third, Dallas defense is stout on that third down defense, man. But Philly's 50-50 on it. So if we can avoid third and shorts, avoid the brotherly shove, man,
Yeah.
I think, we'll be all right on third down. And I think third down is going to be very, very critical in this game. Do you want to speak to the injury report real quick?
Yeah, we can hop right into it, bro. So for this week, it's not a lot going on. We had a lot of people that was banged up, right? I think the main two people we was worried about was Chuma Doga, obviously, trying to figure out what was going on with his left tackle position. So he's questionable, and I think he's gearing towards playing. I think he's going to be all good, but I think the main guy we worried about for this matchup, of course, is Tyron Smith, right?
Yep.
So Tyron Smith, hopefully he plays. He's questionable right now, but I would much rather have him in there than the Chuma Doga, especially for this matchup.
For sure.
So we lean in that way, right? So let's get time back in there. I think that's going to come down to a game time decision, but I assume he's going to play, so he should be in there for the Philly side, right? Jalen Carter, he got a little bit banged up. It looked like he's going to be good to go. But Cam Jurgens is going to be out for this one, starting guard for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's out. Bradley Roby, cornerback, he's also out. Boston Scott is out. Doesn't really matter, Philly, they like to use their running backs a lot, but it's not a lot on the injury report this week. As far as key guys out, if we had to talk about two, obviously it's Cam Jurgens right there. And I think the needle is pointing up for Tyron Smith. So hopefully he's, ready to roll for this one.
No, Tyron's availability is critical in this matchup, and it sounds like this is the healthiest these two teams have been in a very long time when playing each other. So this is going to be a phenomenal measuring game. We talked about the San Fran game being a measuring game, and that didn't measure out too well. And then you see 3 weeks later they've lost 3 straight, man. So Fraud Purdy kind of has dropped the bag there, but this is a measuring game. It's not only going to show us where we stand within our division, but with the NFC as well. And with that, I'm going to talk to the keys to victory on this one. This is a very winnable matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Big thing, man. I think A.J. Brown this season is stamping himself as a top 5 wide receiver. Stamping it. I think right now you got Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson 1A, 1B, and that puts A.J. Brown right at 3, man. CeeDee Lamb the last couple of weeks has trying to work himself up into that conversation from a top 10 to a top 5 guy. What is a better opportunity than when you're playing A.J. Brown than to, stamp that. So we got to do our best. Don't let A.J. Brown loose. Don't let him get that yak. Force Philly to abandon the run. We mentioned, they've got a load of running backs. They run the ball all over you. But if we can really force them to throw the ball, into our aggressive secondary, man, that could lead to some turnovers.
Nah, I think so, man. The one thing about it, like I said, if you let them get ahead, you let them control the clock, you see that time of possession that they can obviously put on teams, right? But crazy enough, right? Jalen Hurts passing the ball. It's not like something that we don't know already, right? He makes plays when it's time to be made. Plays is supposed to be made, right? But Jalen Hurts this year kind of gives you chances at the ball. We didn't really have that discussion last year. But this year, he's been a little bit more aggressive when it was time. And he, obviously, as far as turnovers, he's right there at the top of the league. So you'll have your chances. He's also hurt right now. He's dealing with a little bit of knee injury. So I don't know if he'll be out there just press the run as much. So I think as long as we can stop DeAndre Swift, and kind of keep them, behind the chains and the passing downs, I think we can kind of get to Jalen Hurts. And one thing about it, as far as facing pressures, Jalen Hurts is one of the worst in the league right now. So he'll give you some opportunities, and if we can get into our packages, yeah, I think Dan Quinn can kind of put that stamp on this game, man. So definitely that, but we don't want AJ Brown to get no type of composure with this one, no type of just comfortability. I think Stephon Gilmore, it's a good matchup, veteran versus veteran. I'm cool with Bland on the outside dealing with a Devontae Smith. I think he'll be fine. I wish we had Trayvon Diggs for this one, obviously. But I think with AJ Brown, I think they're gonna come out and try to feed him early. So if we got to keep a safety over the top or anything like that, cool. But I think the main thing is keep Jalen Hurts passing the ball for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned that injury, and this is something Philly is barely talking about, and they're playing it like it's okay. But if you watched Jalen Hurts play the last couple of weeks, you see he's not 100%. You see there's something bothering him, and it seems to be some sort of a knee issue. You look at his rushing numbers, man. He has hit over 30 yards in all but 3 games this season, and the last 2 he hasn't hit that number. He's got 11 attempts for 21 yards against Miami, which sounds like a lot of tush push, really. But
yeah.
4 carries for 6 yards. So it does seem like his mobility is not going to be as big of a factor this week, which will allow us to tighten up that pocket around him and, as you said, let DQ get his guys cooking.
And he will try to run. Don't get me wrong. I think he'll at least try to put it out there so we can at least respect it. But this is one of those games where, Javon Curse, Donovan Wilson. Donovan Wilson is key this week, you know what I'm saying? But just if he happens to kind of get out that pocket a little bit, I want to definitely light him up. I'm gonna be honest. I ain't saying target the knee. I'm not saying be dirty, but I want to at least let him know, like, if you even think about coming out of this pocket, if you even think about a read option, I hope the guys put a hat on hat, make them feel it right away and let them know it's not gonna be that type of game. Last year I thought they did a good job of going straight at Michael Parsons. Kind of targeting him and then being able to run straight at him, not allowing him to chase, and then also going behind him in the screen game. So I know Dan Quinn is looking into that, and kind of figuring out ways to combat that. Definitely got to watch out for that. But outside of that, I think we're good. Just don't let Philly control you in the run game. That's the main thing. But it's going to be solid matchups all around. A lot of key matchups going all the way around the board. But that offensive line against this defensive line, man, it's going to be exciting.
Is just to dive all the way into the key matchups here, man. Would you say that that's your key matchup there, or you got something else you're looking at?
And It's a lot of them, right?
Or-
So with Cam Jurgens being out, I'm looking straight at Osa Odigizua. I think it's a big game for him, right? We always know that Michael Parsons versus Lane Johnson is going to be a battle. We know what Lane Johnson brings to the table. I'm wondering if we're going to kind of keep him there or switch him around. He was able to get the better of Maliata a couple times last year. So I wonder if we're going to switch sides with that. But then I think the biggest to me is that Stephon Gilmore and obviously A.J. Brown matchup. It comes down to that. You know, what I mean, he had some weeks where he looked a little bit slow, but I think overall, if you look at it, Stephon Gilmore has had a great year, and we know what type of year AJ Brown has put out, so I think that's going to be key this week
For me, going straight into the trenches, man, I think Tyler Smith has been playing at a all pro type level, man. He
for
has
sure.
been very impressive this season. So I want nothing more than to see what he is able to do against Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, man. Depending on who they put in front of him, I
It's a hell of a
expect
matchup.
I expect Tyler Smith to look phenomenal against those two boys. Avante Maddox is out. That's their slot corner. And you mentioned that previously. They get Reed Blankenship back, but I do expect to see a lot of CeeDee Lamb in the slot today or tomorrow, and I expect him to eat there. I don't know if maybe they try to move Kevin Byard into the slot or something like that to help out, but I expect to see a lot of CeeDee in the slot and a lot of targets headed for him that way.
Nah, it don't even matter, bro. I think CD is going to do what he does best. You know what I mean? Obviously, you talked about damn, I can't even think of Bradbury, right? Bradbury
Mhm.
barbecue chicken. From when he was with the Giants to Philly, it doesn't matter. CD does what he does to him, right? Slay, I don't know how much Slay travels, right? But even if CD is in the slot, CD is going to eat. So definitely feed CD the ball. Give it to him early and often. And I think he's just one of those guys, like you just got to find a way to manufacture him his touches. And I think he will get that. And just sprinkling a little bit of everybody else. So the secondary is weak over there. Kevin Byard, I think he probably will, you know, get an uptick. I'm assuming he's going to be in there. But I do want to see Jake Ferguson continue to get involved for sure. And let's see if Brandon Cooks, mainly, let's see if he can continue his uptrend. Michael Gallup, let's keep that at a limit, right? And a little bit more Jalen Tolbert this week for sure.
Yeah. And then my last matchup here, man, Hassan Reddick, I'm assuming is going to get a lot of work against Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele, this is what we paid you for, man. So you got to do your thing and try to eliminate that as best as possible. He's a premier edge rusher, but I think Mike McCarthy, might even be able to slide a little help his way with Jake Ferguson or something along those lines.
Yeah, let's slide Shoemaker over there.
Hey,
I think he'll be up to it. You know, what I mean, a little chip here and there. Not only that, I think it's going to be key. I know we talked about Jalen Carter over Tyler Smith, which is going to be a hell of a matchup, right? But I think that Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox matchup, how Tyler Biedes, how he holds up in that middle, I think is going to be very key this game. If he does well, cool. You know what I mean? But you don't want a quarterback to have pressure up in his face. You know what I mean? Jalen Carter, let's just be honest. How did Philly get him, right?
right.
But as far as pressures from the interior, obviously he's up there top 3, top 5 in the league right now. Don't want that to be affecting Dak. We want Dak to be able to step up in the pocket, so that's going to be key. But I noticed, I think we all noticed these past couple of weeks that Dak, he's been able to kind of extend plays a little bit, get outside of the pocket. I'm glad that he's playing his best football right now, heading
Hmm.
into this matchup. And I think he's ready for this one. If you hear him talking, you feel the confidence when he speaks. I think he's ready for it. I think they send a lot of things on film that they can attack. So I think naturally we should feel good. I think if you're thinking about it with Jalen Hurts on the other side going against our defense, and then Dak Prescott going against their defense, I feel like Dak Prescott has the edge for this one. But also, I feel like, DeAndre Swift, if they can get control of that, I think he has a favorable matchup. I'm not saying he'll run all over us, but I think they're looking at it from that standpoint. Tony Pollard, on the other hand, I think we coming out the pass, but I think they coming out the run. So depending on what those defenses do, it's going to be a battle both ways.
I think with Tony too, man, we've yet to really see him get loose. And we just got to stop trying to run him out of the shotgun, man. If you're going to run him north and south, get under center. If you intend to use him east to west, then you can do that out of the shotgun. You know what I mean? But trying to get him to run north and south out of the shotgun, man, he's not able to get that full head of steam. And you're sending him at half capacity into, like you said, the teeth of the defense, man. So try to let Tony loose. Try to get him incorporated. We still have yet to see Tony in the slot like they talked about last season, too.
That's true.
But going through like position by position here, man, I think if you look at the quarterback rooms, given Jalen Hurts' health questions, man, give me Dak this week, obviously. I think Dak is out there with a point to prove. He's playing with a little more edge than he has in the past. And you mentioned his mobility as well, man. He doesn't seem as scared to move around. He is not quick, though. Not as quick as he once was.
Nah, but just the threat of it, like
Yes.
just take what the defense gave you, man. And I think he's been doing that, which is awesome.
This is the game I wish we would have saved that read option for, that Dak scored on, that against the Chargers, man. But hey, I trust this coaching staff. And I'm not saying we were looking past the Rams last week, but I can't imagine that whole bye week was all spent, working on the Rams. So this Philly
Nah,
game
nah,
is
nah. If you listen to the sound, you listen to that sounds from the sideline, right?
I missed it.
Oh man, like in the midst of that, those guys talking, like I think it was Javon Kirsten. He was pretty much telling the guys, like, yeah, like let's get this out the way. Let's get this one out the way, because we know how important this week is. So I think the whole mindset behind that was they knew they had to handle business just to kind of focus on this week. So I think we all know how important this matchup is. How important it is as far as the NFC East, right? In general, like if they go up in this game, I think they're 2.5 up games on us, going into this final stretch. But not only that, we're still shooting for this 1 seed, right? So San Fran, they was able to drop a couple games. They dropped back. Detroit is right there. I believe they going on a bye week. They went up on us, and Seattle is also 5-2 at the minute, right? So this is important because not only are we dealing with Philly in the division, we right there, right? But you see Detroit, and obviously we got to see them down the road. They're right there, but this puts us firmly in the mix. You don't want to lose this game. It's so pivotal, man. So um, it's tough. I like our matchup right now. And I believe if the playoffs was to start today, we'll be facing Atlanta. I think with the winner of, I think it was yeah. Was it the winner of the Vikings and
Vikings Lions.
Vikings Lions? And then winner of the San Fran will have to go see Philly. So I mean, look, we good. We kind of good where we are, but I think we could take this 1 seed, man. So I'm feeling good. How you feeling about the whole landscape and how everything is shaking out right now?
If you look at the landscape, man, if we get the dub this weekend, we improve to 6-2. Philly's probably still going to have the edge with that extra win on us, given the win percentage, but they've yet to have their bye. But this is a game, if we want a shot at that home field advantage in the playoffs, man, we got to get this one, especially on the road. But Detroit, I think Detroit could be a sleeping giant. I think that's probably a 10 to 12, maybe 13 win team this season. But Seattle, they could win that division. You look all the way over here, man, at the 60 with San Francisco. Like, does San Francisco end up as a wild card team? That would be kind of wild, but I don't think Seattle sustains this. I think they end up 5-3 after they play Baltimore this weekend. San Fran's on a bye. Minnesota, I assume, is going to fall out of this. They just lost Kirk Cousins. But I think at a minimum, we end up as a 5 seed. I think we're a, 11, 12, 13 win team. But is Philly a 14, 15 win team? We've yet to see. They got punched in the mouth by the Jets and didn't respond well. That was the first time they really faced adversity this season. But the Cowboys, man, we've faced adversity twice and it didn't go our way. So it is kind of tricky, the landscape of the NFC. And of course, it's that time of the year where we got to start talking about this. But we got to just make that push for the 1 seed.
Oh, for sure. Like, and they played a lot of close games, right? We seen them in the battle with the Jets, right? Which makes the whole NFL thing so weird, right? Week to week, right? We seen them in a battle with the Jets, we blow the Jets out. We see them in a battle with the Rams, we blow the Rams out. Obviously, they still got to go see San Fran, and whatnot. But it's so pivotal for this game right now. So if we're talking the Dallas Cowboys schedule, depending on what happened in this game, let's say if we win this game, right, we'll be sitting at 6-2. Philly will be sitting at 7-2, right? So our next stretch after that, Cowboys will have the Giants, the Carolina Panthers,
Win-win.
the Washington Commanders, right?
Right.
We'll obviously get Seattle and then with a rematch with Philly coming on down the road, right? But then Philly on the other hand of this, right? 7-2, right? But they have to face the Chiefs coming up next. They got the Bills. Following that with the 49ers, also facing us again, and then the Seahawks and the Giants. You know what I mean? So tough matchups. I think it's going to be a pivotal stretch for both teams. Both teams are coming into this one feeling like they got to get this one right. So not a lot of bulletin board material. You know what I mean? In the past years, we see Sirianni, he comes out there with the beat Dallas. Before we heard D-Law talking trash. This week it's kind of all quiet, right? it don't feel like nobody's talking, you know what I mean, front office wise and players is all fans, right? So it's a little bit fun. I think from both sides we're hearing it all, but I'm just so excited just come in here and get this one out the way. I feel good. I feel good going into it. We always play good against Philly. You know what I mean? And Dak, we like I stated before, we know what Dak does, but we really haven't had too many Dak Prescott versus Jalen Hurts matchups. I think
Right.
the first one was possibly I don't believe it was his rookie year. It might have been his rookie year. Dak got that one, but it really I don't think Jalen Hurts will ever be Dak, and I think Dak just won over against him. So this is going to be a key game for both teams, both franchises. Everybody feeling like their guys are the best guys. But at the end of the day, both teams are good. Two good defenses, two good offenses. Let's just hope Mike McCarthy he comes out here and continues to let Dak loose and dials him up this week.
That's what, yeah. And if you look at the schedule for week 9, I think as far as like playoff seeding goes, this is the most important game this weekend. I expect a lot of eyeballs on this one. And I have full faith in this coaching staff with this matchup, man. This is a Philly team that did lose both their coordinators. They're still trying to find their identity, find their footing. Um, it's Philly week, and I think we get this dub.
Yeah, I mean, 7-2, right? Obviously we'll still be one game behind them due to the bye week or whatnot. But Detroit is off this week, I believe. Like you said, Seattle, tough week for them. They facing Baltimore. We got a chance to slide right into where we need to be. And
Mhm.
if you get this win, where that puts us confidence wise, heading into the, you know what I mean, this final stretch of the season. A lot of people feel like Philly is the best team. You know what I mean? And if they feel like that, obviously, you know what I mean, this is one of those games, one of those confidence builders that I think it was to take this one just kind of carry us a long way heading into the playoffs, man. You know, I've talked to people. You know, it's weird as a Cowboys fan, right? I'm like, what do we got to do, right? I'm like, they're like Philly gonna beat y'all, or whatever, like that. And I don't even mind. I let the trash talk a little bit. But I'm like, okay. I'm like, so what happens Sunday? You know, what I mean, if we come out here and beat Philly, oh, that don't mean nothing. Y'all still ain't doing it in the playoffs. I said, okay. So what happens if we sweep them? It doesn't matter to y'all doing it in the playoffs, right? I'm like, okay, so no matter what we do, even if we beat those teams, it doesn't matter until whatever we do comes December and obviously into
Right.
January, right? So keep that in the back of your mind. Even if we beat those, you know what I mean, these teams, whether it was San Fran, Philly, everybody is waiting on our downfall. Everybody feels like we got to do it in December, January. And to be truthful, I'm starting to feel the same way. We've had this roller coaster up and down. I truly believe we're going to be a playoff team regardless, right? But these are the type of wins that you need to stack. You know what I mean? This is important in our key because, hey, we probably see them in the playoffs. We'll see them again later this year. We're going to face Detroit, another team we probably face in the playoffs. We've seen San Fran. And I believe it's Seattle on our schedule as well. I think we
We
see
got
Seattle.
Seattle.
So everybody that's kind of standing in our playoff picture and our playoff road, we're going to see them sometime this year. Starting with this week, let's go ahead and get this done for sure.
For sure. Yeah, this is the end zone experience. We appreciate you all for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. You got any final words?
Hey, Quest for Six, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like Austin said it, man. Quest for Six is the end zone experience. Appreciate y'all.